I know y'all are seeing that light, right? It looks great. Anyway. Welcome back to the YouTube channel, guys. I hope you're doing good. It's been a minute since I've been in front of the camera, and it is so good to be back. Like, I have missed you all dearly, and admittedly, I was literally just getting myself together. As you can see, we've got a new setup, we've got some new lighting, I'm looking glowy, it's great. But it's honestly, listen, I've really missed you guys, and yeah, it's good to be back in front of the camera and just talking to you all. And it feels like World War III has broken out since I last posted. We've had, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement finally reach preeminence, and the global outcry at racial injustice across the world. We've had that. We've had, you know, global outcry at, you know, sexual trauma and the experiences that a lot of people have been engaging with, but also having behind closed doors and not really having those pertinent outward conversations, right? What else have we had? Oh, and just recently, I was literally scrolling on the TL and I was like, oh, Kanye West is running for president. And this is no skin off of Kanye's nose, but I was just like, wow, this really is the finale to, you know, 2020. This is, I'm mind blown. But we'll dig into all of that. We'll take it one step at a time. We'll come on to each. Quick update about me. I'm doing good. I've literally just been working on so many different projects and little things that I love and getting them off the ground. Been working in a lot of like education technology because it's still super important, like so important to me, and I'm really passionate about, you know, access to education, access to resources and opportunities and all that good stuff. So there's a couple of things that I've been, you know, working under the wing that I'll be sharing with you guys a little bit more. Yeah, I got my new setup. I didn't really want to film another YouTube video prematurely because I was like, trust me guys, when you see the new setup, you're gonna be like, it was definitely worth it. So, and even lighting setup, playing with it, seeing what works, all that fun stuff. So that's me. Let's dive right into the topics. First, let's talk about Black Lives Matter. And I'm kind of a little bit, I feel two ways about it, because on the one hand, I didn't want to post anything earlier because I am an avid writer. If you guys know me well or have followed my journey, I love to write. So I've written about, you know, racial injustice for a really long time now. It's something that I specialized in, having studied history at undergrad. Happy to link, I'll probably link them down below this YouTube video so you can, you know, check them out. Black lives still matter because, you know, I'm sure all of you guys were aware of the initial social media hubbub around Black Lives Matter, the fact that people were participating in, you know, a lot of kind of like social activist moves. And there was a lot of people who were actually down there on the ground and protesting and all that kind of good stuff across the globe. I think it's actually such a pivotal moment in our history because we've actually never seen something like this. And I think social media has been such a engine and a force for change, right? And I just want to hit home that, you know, Black lives still matter. And the fact that, you know, it's actually quite sad that in 2020 we're still having to defend or attempt to humanize black bodies, black people. Even the whole idea of black bodies is kind of sad that we still have to do that in 2020. And yeah, I'm always wrestling with it because I'm like, on the one hand, I'm like,
this is so basic. Like, this is really elementary stuff.
That, you know, my life matters, that I'm human, and that it's not fair for institutional racism to strip whole families of their dignity. On the other hand, it's like you need to raise awareness and you need to get people engaged in order to prevent these things from happening again. So that's always something that I wrestle with. I'm just like, I don't know if I have capacity or bandwidth to deal with that struggle anymore because it's 2020. We shouldn't have to do this. And even though the social media stuff has died down, there's still work that needs to be done. There's still work that, you know, we need to do in terms of dismantling these structures in our everyday conversations, in terms of dismantling these structures in our workforces and within the educational institutions that we go to. We still need to look at the ways in which racism has manifested in all of these different places, and we need to actively transform these structures. It's not just about the interpersonal relationships that you have with people, but also about the ways in which literal global systems have been propped up by global oppression. And it really does take global communities to transform that, right? Like, it's not just, it's absolutely not the onus of, you know, anyone that's black or anyone within the black community to always be the educator, to always be the person that's extending a hand out, extending out that grace. We all need to do work. And that's why I say Black lives still matter. Accountability is really, really important. It's not even just about, you know, the fact that this was precipitated by the George Floyd case, the Breonna Taylor case. It really is not even just about, you know, those cases in particular, even though a number of those cases are not even resolved. I mean, Breonna Taylor, hello, we're looking for justice. we want arrests. You guys, that was murder. We want arrests. It's really, really serious. It's unfortunate, actually, that a number of these cases have been used in such a way to get people listening. Like, this is not a new struggle. Black Lives Matter is not a new movement. It has morphed and changed, and it has been within the spirit of other, you know, activist type movements for a really, really long time, both in America and the UK and even globally. There have always been anti-racist movements, and it's so sad that it took the mass sharing of murder, because that's what it was, call a spade, murder, for people to actually mobilize around it and galvanize around it. So yeah, that's kind of like my 2 pence. There's so many different things that we can talk about, you know, the fact that blackness, anti-blackness manifests differently in different spaces, kinds of racism that you experience in one place is different to another place, and so on and so forth. But I'll leave some links below on like bits and pieces that I've done on racism, diversity, all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, just a reminder that this is not a one-day thing. You don't just declare that you're anti-racist one day and think the work is over. This is an ongoing transformative movement that seeks to dismantle oppressive structures and really think about ways in which we can reimagine learning and reimagine communities built on mutual respect, mutual human dignity, and mutual love. So Lord knows I had so much to say when the whole thing, you know, broke out. There's just so much that's been going on. Trauma. It's such a deep one. I feel like a lot of these topics, they just deserve their own videos, and if that's something you want to see, let me know. I'm happy to do an actual like dedicated video on talking about racism, talking about blackness, because that's literally one of my passions. It's literally one of the things that I've studied for a really long time. But yeah, moving on to really just talking very briefly on, you know, trauma, particularly sexual trauma. And, you know, it's a really nice segue into the whole Jeffrey Epstein fiasco. Dealing with trauma is difficult. Conversations about, particularly about sexual trauma, is really tough. Like, no, I don't know what it, well, I do know what it is, I tell a lie. It's such a deep violation to experience sexual trauma. You know, how are we talking about sex? How are we talking about relationships? How are we talking about consent? And how do these things operate within, you know, pre-established structures like patriarchy? All these kind of things. How are we conceptualizing relationships between people? And how does our conception of sex play and feed into that? I just want to extend a real hand of love to anyone that's ever experienced any kind of, you know, sexual assault. We need to be careful that we're not invalidating some people's experiences because it's not, you know, dare I say it, sex in of itself, you know, rape as it were. There's coercion, there's, you know, inappropriate touching, there's grooming, all that kind of stuff. And I think the more that we can be transparent about our experiences, the more that we can be transparent about, you know, the things that we have learned around these topics, the more we can hold people to accountability, and the more that these things don't fester for so long. Like when we look at something like the Jeffrey Epstein case, I was absolutely mortified. Like it I don't want to say that I had always suspected that, you know, there was always something a little bit weird in Palm Springs and Hollywood and all these kind of like places that we associate with great wealth and power. But I'm so disappointed and sad. In fact, just in general, I'm so disappointed and sad these days that when I hear about something that's actually genuinely moving, I'm no longer surprised. It's almost like we've been so desensitized to traumatic experiences that now it's more of a, oh, I'm disappointed this occurred, but it takes me a while to feel it because it's become so normalized. And I was horrified. I was literally horrified to hear about these things, but then I wasn't even vaguely surprised. I was horrified but unsurprised. Like, how do we deal with all of these weird... It's just weird. That's what it is. It's weird. But I think we definitely need to start having more conversations about, you know, again, relationship, sex, who has entitlement to whose body, even that whole notion. Lord, don't even get me started. Don't get me started on just the idea of who's entitled to who when it comes to sexual relations. In some communities, it feels like sex is a bad word and talking about relationships is, you know, faux pas outside. It's just, yo, we need to be having these conversations and start thinking about the ways in which some people have been in environments or are allowing themselves to be taken by this whole idea that they're entitled to somebody else's body, or not even just body, because it goes, sexual trauma is even an extension of emotional and mental trauma. There's that element that comes with it. It's not just a physical trauma, and we need to have more conversations about that too. Who else are we talking about? Let's talk about flipping Kanye West for president. Yo, I won't lie, Kanye West was definitely a controversial figure. When I came across it on the TL, I was like,
so is this what it feels like to be in the Matrix? Because it's getting a little bit weird.
A little bit strange. And I've got nothing, listen, if he wins, he wins. I've got nothing against the guy.
That's a lot. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of Kanye.
I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'm curious to hear what you guys think of the above topics. How are we feeling towards Ye? Because that's a mixed bag. That's a real mixed bag. And also, I'm not an American, so even though I have extensive experience with my lovely Americans, and you guys know I love you to bits, I don't want to be commenting too tough on, you know, you guys' thoughts on that. So yeah, anyways guys, that's the end of this video. Yeah, good to be back.
I'm so excited to be back.
And yeah, stay connected with my writing. I write a lot, almost daily, basically, on Medium and my blog, which I'll link down below. Connect with me on Instagram, Twitter. I'm very opinionated, as you can see, so hit me up on Twitter. I would love to engage with you guys. And hit me up on, yeah, IG. Where else am I? And of course, I am so bad at this. I'm really, really bad. I need to get better. Subscribe. Subscribe for more content, for more videos, and for more honest conversations. I really want this to be a space where we can actually just engage and reflect on certain things, and I really want this to be a space where I can provide value to you guys. So as always, let me leave you there before I start rambling. Lots of love and take care.